There is a method that I've used with people in order to help them out with their fears. It's called the dip your toe method. It actually comes from dip your toe therapy. And believe it or not, today is the day you break past your fear.
Subscribe.
The Voices of Victory podcast show.
Voices of Victory. Vision. Voices of Victory. Leadership. Voices of Victory. Workplace-related topics. The Voices of Victory.
Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory.
It's time for the show. You are now listening to the Voices of Victory podcast show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Di Leone.
Hello and welcome to Voices of Victory podcast show. I am your host, Mario Di Leone, and we are going to go over overcoming fear incrementally. I'm going to introduce you to the core concept today of dip your toe method. This comes from dip your toe therapy, and it indeed does work. I used to use it with people when I was doing counseling many years ago. I did private counseling on the side. It was like a second job, and I was counseling people through phobias and fear. Now, I'm not a therapist, okay, not a therapist, but I was actually working with people from a level of counseling, pastoral counseling, and I was working from that level. I have left the field since then and have moved on. I've moved on to different areas. My life has taken a different shape, and I'm confident about that. So the dip your toe method. Why does the dip your toe method actually work so functionally? Well, for one, fear shrinks with safe, manageable exposure. That's the first order of business. You pair that with a sense of control, because when you take the smallest possible step, your brain doesn't start throwing up resistance patterns. It's like, oh, I could do this. It's small enough to where I could tackle it. It's repeated. It's progressive. It has intentional exposure, meaning you have to have the intention to expose yourself to the smallest possible fears. And fear becomes familiar. It becomes predictable. It also becomes non-threatening. Your brain gets a mental blueprint when you start to inch yourself slowly in the direction of your fears. Now, when it comes to the types of fears, there's two types of fears. There's rational and there's irrational. Rational fear would be the fear that's related for survival. It's very natural. It's part of our day-to-day survival mechanism. An example would be putting your hand in a fire. There's a fear that you're going to get burnt. And that's rational because we understand that it's universal for every human being. It's universal across the board. And universal means every human being can experience that as a fear, except maybe people that have been conditioned or have worked past that. Then there's the irrational fear. The irrational fear is a little voice in your head, the judgment, the laughter, the failure, the panic, the rejection, all of that stuff. The things that won't kill you, but they stop you from living fully, and your brain treats it like a real threat because of the amygdala, the fight or flight part of your brain. A good example would be like public speaking. So let's talk about the 4 levels of the dip your toe method. Level 1, identify the fear. Identify the fear. What do? You got to name the fear and be very specific. Write it down, because by writing it down, it engages the prefrontal cortex of your brain. That's executive function. So it's going to keep you nice and calm. And write down, after this question, put this on a sheet of paper. What exactly am I afraid of? What exactly am I afraid of? That brings us over to step number 2. Break it up into the smallest possible steps. So ask yourself, the next question to put down on paper is, what is the smallest possible step? The small is, even if it has a little bit of fear in it, what is the smallest possible step? Examples would be like watching a video online. Like, I know somebody who was actually absolutely terrified of getting a particular surgery, and then what happened was they watched the surgery on YouTube and realized that the surgery was only about 5 minutes long, and they were able to ask the doctors questions in the live stream, and the doctors were allaying and calming down their fears, and they actually went to get the surgery that week, believe it or not. So that being said, watching a video, doing some kind of mirror practice, right? Doing some kind of practice, maybe engaging in small bouts of that fear. Telling a friend about it is a start, because that can let a person know what you're attempting to do. Make sure it's a person that is a well-wisher and has your best interest in mind. And that the smaller steps keep the amygdala calm for actual learning. That's the beauty of it. The small question you can ask is, could I make this small step even smaller? This way, there's less resistance. You're not going to feel emotional resistance because when a fear occurs, bells and whistles go off and emotional resistance comes up. So breaking those into the small steps. The level 3 is you have to prime your mind. Prime your mind with visualization or narration. 2 to 3 minutes of imagining success before actually taking the step. Some people have what's called aphantasia, which they have the inability to actually visualize a picture in their head. So what you can do is narrate what you wish to see out loud in vivid detail, and this will help the brain form images. I've learned that. This taps the visual cortex and it helps the mirror neurons in the brain. This creates what we call mental rehearsal. It makes the real act familiar. The whole point of a fire drill would be to have mental rehearsal in the brain, so when it really does happen, your brain has a mental blueprint of that experience. And what this does is it strengthens neural pathways and it makes you more bold and more prepared. So the smallest question you could ask here is, what would it look like? What would it sound like? And what would it feel like to actually move through this and succeed? The last level is step, recover, and repeat. You take the smallest step. This is where you actually take the smallest step. You pause and notice what went well, what didn't, and what actually felt easier. Give yourself some recovery time. Give yourself a few days, so your brain could take those memories and consolidate them in the memory bank safely, and then move to the next step and just repeat. You can go to the next step, go to the next level of fear. You know, it's like climbing to step 3. If you're afraid of the stairs, you climb to step 3, and then the next day you climb to step 4. You have to be very progressive. So that being said, you ask the question, right? Move to the next step or repeat until it's easier. And what's the next smallest possible step? Very important. That's level 4. Now, why does this actually work? It works because the amygdala gets desensitized from it. That's the fight or flight part of the brain. There's a gradual exposure which reduces the mental alarm system or mental alarm response. And the brain experiences neuroplasticity, which is the repeated rehearsal and wins, which creates new pathways. And the brain has mirror neurons. This is all about imagining and narrating, which primes your motor and emotional circuits of the brain. The imagination is important. Then we have the prefrontal cortex activation. That's all about planning and moving forward through each step because it's going to strengthen your emotional regulation. You become more emotionally regulated as you progress through the fear. No one's really talking about that a whole lot. So what this does is it rewires your brain with gradual exposure. You visualize success. Your brain doesn't differentiate between imagining and doing. You picture speaking to a small, safe group if you're doing public speaking, for example. Feelings of pushback can be normal, but you have to reinforce the I can do this. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to move through it in a mild way. And it lays the foundation for real confidence. So that's part of visualizing success. Talking to yourself verbally out loud, highly recommended. Stand in front of a mirror, speak out loud. It will feel awkward, it will feel weird, it will feel ridiculous, but it works wonders. And the more you hear your voice, less foreign it feels. And that's due to the part of the brain, which is Wernicke's area of the brain and Broca's area of the brain. The part of speaking and the part of listening come into play. The more you hear your voice, the less foreign it feels, and your brain will start to adapt, and the amygdala starts chilling out the signals, and it starts letting you know that it's actually safe and okay, and you can move forward. So talking to yourself out loud is part of self-talk, cognitive behavior therapy. Expanding your comfort zone, that's the next step. Talk to a trusted friend, share your thoughts and ideas of what you're going to do. Remind yourself that you have to keep it safe and just it's practice. That's all it is, just practice. You know, contribute to what you're going to do in the direction you're going to go. It may require some effort and some time. Teach your brain that you can actually handle this. That's about expanding it. So this works for any fear, whether it's asking for help, taking a risk, new things, even phobia. And the brain learns that threat isn't real. The amygdala starts to calm down. And you know what? It rewires your fear and creates confidence. There's optional daily structure. So you can go through 5 days of working through this. The first day, day 1 is identify the fear and take a look at the small steps and break them up into tiny pieces. Day 2 is work on your visualization and narration. Day 3 is the first smallest step that you can take. Day 4 is visualization again because you want to prime your mind. And day 5 is the next smallest step. And this allows your mind to rehearse and act without overwhelming your nervous system. So there you have it. This is the Overcoming Fear Incrementally, the 5-day challenge. And I invite you to go for it. Have a great day. Take care. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and buy me a coffee in the description. And see you on the next episode.